Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Six Sided Podcast. As usual, I'm your host, the Taxman, and I'm going to kind of get the intro in here quick this week. I don't want this to be a big hour-long marathon. I feel like I've done a couple of those in a row, obviously notwithstanding last week, but just wanted to quickly shout out a few people before I get going on this week's episode. So just a few new people have subscribed to the YouTube page, so I want to say a big thank you to Michael Cheney, T. Wild, Vanilla Joke, and Shadow Batish. Thank you all for subscribing to the YouTube page. Once again, as usual, if you subscribe to the YouTube page, I make sure to give you a shout out at the start of the following show. So this week's episode of Impact was obviously the go-home show before Slammiversary, and I'm not going to go too deep into the show this week, just because I have such a good preview, and yeah, we could say preview, with a couple of good friends of mine, so I just want to, kind of make this episode more about that than my usual review. I've never done a show strictly previewing a pay-per-view yet, so this is the first for me, and once again, I'm joined by great friends doing it, so kind of want to save a lot of time for that, but I will say, at the very least, that if you're going to construct a show as a go-home show for a big pay-per-view, man, this was the way to go. It had enough storyline carryover, it had enough video packages, it had great showcasing for some of the talents that are going to be there without having them, have that match before the pay-per-view in the ring, which we all hate, and it happens far too often in so many other promotions. So it was nice that we didn't see, Austin, Aries, and Mousse have a match before their match, right? We didn't see Pentagon and Sami Callihan have a singles match before their big match at Slammiversary, so on and so forth. So I thought that this show, just in itself, did a very good job of pushing, like I said, the storylines and all the big things that you need to know going into Slammiversary. So with all that being said, I'm going to flip it now to the Slammiversary preview show. I recorded this with the guys from Just Because Wrestling. Please enjoy. Alright, so we get going in 3, 2, 1. So I'm very happy to be joined right now by the guys from Just Because Wrestling. Guys, how you doing?
Hello.
So for anybody who doesn't know, you guys are across the pond, as they say. You guys are actually based in Ireland.
Based in Ireland, yeah, in Cork, Ireland, across the big pond. The biggest pond you could ever think of.
It actually, yeah, there's no stone skipping happening on that pond. That's
No.
So we had actually met by chance on Twitter, just through one of those random Follow Fridays or whatever. And I don't remember who it was, but one of you had written a great article about the broken mat, the final deletion that happened in WWE, and the differences between that and what happened in Impact, and kind of the fans' views of that and fears of which, and that's kind of how we met. And I thought that was a great article, and it got me introduced to your guys' show. And speaking of which, you guys actually just had your 1-year anniversary show.
Yeah, we did. We celebrated 1 year. It's been a struggle last year, so we run through some of our ups and downs on our 1-year anniversary last year. I don't know if you heard it, but we've had some great moments, and we've had some arguments and fights.
Arguments and fights, but that's what makes it so entertaining, isn't it? Because then you find common ground where you can be like, yeah, look, we'll agree to disagree. You have an opinion, I have an opinion, but we can both agree that WCW in the 2000s was shit. So.
Yeah, I think if there's any underlying theme in all of the shows, it's probably about that. So
yeah, it keeps popping up. It's gonna be just a thing that for as long as we do this podcast, it's gonna keep popping up. How Jack loves shit wrestling, I don't like shit wrestling, and that's how it's gonna be for the rest of our lives.
that or whether Christian is rated or overrated or underrated.
No, I'm not getting into it now. This is an Impact podcast. We're talking Impact only.
And it's funny because he did do a stint there.
And he's good at Impact.
Yeah, like he had a stint there after all too. Yeah, that was kind of a funny deal how that all happened as well.
The Christian thing.
Yeah, like when he was in the first time, he was basically on loan because they sent him Christian because that whole Ric Flair Hall of Fame deal.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting story as well. It's probably something we should cover eventually on a future podcast.
Yeah,
because
it was one of your questions in the quiz. I remember we did a quiz one time, and you asked me like, when Ric Flair went into the Hall of Fame, WWE loaned. He was on contract with Impact, and WWE loaned another contract to WWE Superstar to Impact. Like, who was that? I had no idea it was Christian, but
yeah, but yeah, it was me who wrote the article as well. So thanks for your kind words about that. It's always like that, going back to that broken mat thing. Like, there's a lot of reservations compared. Obviously, TNA had a lot more, or Impact had a lot more different parameters as to what WWE would let them do, and there was a big fear about that. So I just wanted to relay that message in that article, and the fact that you saw that makes me very happy. So thank you very much for those words about that.
Yeah, like so I had read that, and then obviously I had to go back through the archives there. So like I said, you guys have come, and you kind of said too, you guys have come a long way from, episode 1. One of you getting coffee spilt all over you and basically melting on audio, and then fast forward through
Starbucks.
Yeah,
Jack has this habit of something bad happens to him during a podcast. He gets coffee spilled on him. He fell. I fell off.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah,
on his head.
I literally took a huge bump from my bed onto the floor. What other stuff has happened?
There's been lots of shit happened to you.
My grandmother has made a cameo once or twice.
Your mother?
My mother has made a cameo. So we've had
I had a phone call once during podcast. We were recording off my phone. We lost about 40 minutes worth of recording. That was a great day.
Like, as frustrating as some things like that are, sometimes it's funny the way it happens like that. Like, I've had my daughters make a surprise cameo because one starts screaming. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to go deal with that. Or I had one episode where I didn't realize that at the time, but listening back, one of my cats, you could hear it playing his day meowing through the door, and it's just one of those things, eh? Like, you look back on it, and you're like, Jesus. All right, so we're going to give our predictions for the Slammiversary card coming up on July 22nd. So, if anybody hasn't checked out Just Because Wrestling before, I highly suggest that you do so, and we're going to get into that later in the episode. But these guys always kind of run down a...
shit happens when you're on doing podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys still there, right? Hello? What's going on here?
Yeah.
We couldn't hear anything on your side.
Yeah, it was... And, like, nothing. Like, I unplugged my mic, I tried whatever, and then, like I said, I just ended up restarting, and even still, at that point, it didn't. So I don't know what the fuck. Friday the 13th, fuck it, that's what it was.
That's what it was, yeah.
So let's hope nothing like this happens again.
Well, yeah, I would rather not get fucked around here and whatever, but... Oh...
At least it was only, like, 10 minutes in, yeah, so...
Yeah. It'd be worse if we were, like, an hour in.
Well, that would suck too, eh? Oh yeah, I'll phone you guys back for the last 5 minutes, like in a week. No thanks. Like, fuck. Oh god. All right, so we'll go ahead and run down the matches for the Slammiversary card, if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah, no bother.
Okay, so looking at the card for Slammiversary, that's July 22nd. We're just going to go through the main matches. I'm sure there's going to be a few dark matches or minor ones announced later on the card or later on closer to the card. But we'll go through the 8 major ones. So first up, we will be seeing Tessa Blanchard versus Aries. So I'm curious what you guys are thinking. Who's going to win that one?
I'm looking forward to this match because obviously Aries is a 2-time champion and Tessa Blanchard is just coming in. And I think I'm very high on Tessa Blanchard because I think she could be to impact what Charlotte Flair is to the WWE. I think she is the next woman. If I don't know if you agree with me, but that's how I see it. I think she is money.
Yeah, she's signed a long-term deal, so
it's a long-term deal. She's in for a while, And I think it was a huge missed opportunity last year by WWE not signing her out of the Mae Young Classic because she had a great showing at that tournament. But WWE's lost is Impact's gain. So I think Tessa Blanchard wins this because I think they're going to build her strong. But it could go either way here because it's a big both are obviously high in the company. So, but I think Tessa Blanchard, to give her a big win and to go, maybe even for her to go and challenge the winner of Su Yung and Madison Rayne later on.
But like, you're kind of picking her because of kind of like contractual real life reasons. I'm picking her based on like storyline reasons. So basically, in Impact right now, Ali and Rosemary are locked up in this thing where, like, you know, like, is Rosemary still off TV? I don't know.
Yeah, she is. She's still. I'm not sure if she's still injured, but she's for sure still off TV.
Yeah, so I kind of like, I feel like that's going to play into Ali, that Ali's head's not going to be in the game, that she's going to be distracted with Rosemary, she's going to be concerned about her friend, and Blanchard will pick up a win. And I think I think Ali's going to be kind of more focused on Rosemary for the time being, in my opinion. But I agree with Jack that Tessa Blanchard's going to win as well.
Yeah, we're going to make this one unanimous. I think that Tessa Blanchard is going to win this one as well. Especially after, I know a lot of people were upset or whatever about her, quote-unquote, doing the job for Madison Rayne, you know, a couple times in a row there. But
I was surprised, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, it kind of makes sense that she could pick up a big win. And I would like to actually see her get more of a convincing win, rather than just, you know, I don't want her to get the cheap schoolboy roll-up for a win. I would rather have her dominate the match, really show that mean streak that she's shown, and kind of win that way. But again, that's me personally. But I do like your idea about Ali picking it right up with Rosemary, because it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I just feel that that's kind of been her whole deal. Like, we even saw, like, a few weeks ago on Impact where Ali wrestled Su Yung in that last rights match where she came out like all she's going to suffer a bit of a slide, and maybe you might see like Ali turn a bit darker. Maybe she might go down the wrong path. Maybe it'll lead to a Rosemary Ali feud where Rosemary's the face, Ali's the heel, which I think might be a very interesting dynamic. So I don't know, but I definitely think Blanchard should get the win anyway.
Yeah, totally agree. The next match listed for the card is a 51-50 street fight. We have the LAX Young Boyz versus the LAX OGs. So I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to think about this one.
Can I ask, what exactly is a 51-50 street fight?
Well, I assume that you're gonna have a couple of bottles of Patron laying around, maybe maybe a few illicit substances. And,
I watched because I was proper into the LAX OVE feud. I was like, this is actually a really good feud.
Yeah.
And I watched all their match. They had a 51-50 street fight as well, that Bound for Glory, I believe. And that was actually really, like, it's basically a street fight, but LAX seem to do them really fucking good.
Yeah.
They do really good street fights. I'm actually really looking forward to this match because it's proper. It's like, I actually saw kind of a meme on Twitter. It was like Impact Wrestling, we have the best in-feud fight or in-group fighting in the world, and then New Japan Pro Wrestling, hold my beer. But literally, no, it is really good though. I've really been into it. I've really been into the Conan King, kind of who's the leader of LAX. Santana Ortiz, one of the most underrated tag teams in the world, in my opinion, and obviously Hernandez and Homicide, two of like the best of in Impact history.
Yeah.
But I'm going with the OGs to win this match because I think that it's not for the titles, which is a very good sign for the OGs. And I think that they'll need this win to kind of establish their dominance. I think you could make the point that Santana and Ortiz could win. To get that big win to kind of elevate them as like this dominating tag team. But I think that with King on the outside, I think he'll take out Conan or something. He'll do something to Conan, which will distract Santana Ortiz, getting the OGs the win. And especially, I think the fact that this isn't for like Santana Ortiz are the champions right now, the tag champions. I think the fact this isn't for the belts just makes it more in favor of the OGs to win this match, in my opinion. But yeah, OGs for me.
I agree. I don't think this is the end of this feud. I don't think it's going to be a one and done match. I think it's probably going to be a trilogy, if not more. And I think by the end of it, Santana and Ortiz will have won the feud. But I think the OGs are going to pick up the win first, and Santana and Ortiz will pick up the return and the rubber. To Billy's point, the titles aren't on the line, so. Whenever a title isn't on the line in a big match like this, it always kind of indicates that the tag team champions are doing the job. So I'm going to go the OGs as well.
Yeah, as with the first match, this one's going to be unanimous. Yeah, I agree. To further the storyline, it makes more sense that the OGs win this one. Then you can kind of build this feud and really have the Young Boys kind of get their comeuppance, 2, 3, 4 matches down the road or whatever they end up going. But yeah, for me, it just makes sense now for the OGs to win. But you could have the Young Boys have a good strong showing, and I would like to. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. See a ton of interference with Kingston. It just makes sense, right?
Yeah, and I think I'm looking forward to this match. I think this match is gonna be crazy because I love, just for some reason, Santana and Ortiz are just low-key one of the two of the best hardcore wrestlers in the world. They are literally, every time they have any kind of gimmick match, it is always insane. Like, go back and watch Barbed Wire Massacre.
Yeah, I was going to say.
OV, that match is insane. That rivals old school ECW. That is insane. So, I have a feeling this match is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be some insane spots, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this match. Actually, I'm really looking forward to this match.
Okay,
for fantasy booking, how about a feud between Santana and Ortiz versus the Briscoes in Ring of Honor?
That would be incredible.
Or Santana Ortiz versus the Bucks.
The Bucks, anyone. But I'm just talking pure hardcore wrestling.
Yeah, pure hardcore wrestling. Santana and Ortiz. Yeah, or like Santana Ortiz, genuinely, in my opinion, are like one of the most I don't know if you can call them underrated, maybe kind of overlooked, I suppose would be a better word, like tag teams in the world. I genuinely think that they are like outstanding. If you watch their in-ring work, they are really, really good. So I am looking forward to this match.
Plus, I'm a huge fan of the street sweeper finish. Cause I love a tag team finish is like so. It's one of those things that you don't see it very much anymore, and when you do see it and it's done well, and you're like, holy shit, that's fucking awesome, and that's totally what I get there.
The original finish, and like that finish is insane. It's really, really good. So
I love that.
I'm looking forward to this match, and I'm looking forward to see Hernandez and Homicide, because when LAX got like kind of reintroduced, was it like 2 years ago or like a year and a half ago? I think Homicide was in the group, but Hernandez wasn't, and it was kind of more focused on Santana Ortiz anyway, with Conan and Homicide kind of as managers more or less. So I love the LAX gimmick. I love that gimmick, and I think it's really, really good. It's a focal point in kind of America and like their political system and stuff. So I think it's a really, really good gimmick, and I'm looking for. I think it's one of the better groups I think that Impact's ever produced. Probably the best group they've ever produced.
I would argue it's the best group they've ever had, but. We'll keep this in line with craziness in terms of matches, because our next match listed is a House of Hardcore match. We have Eddie Edwards versus Tommy Dreamer.
First up, I want to say, right, this is one of the rare instances where I feel like WWE are copying Impact, right? Because I think right now, I don't know if you're following, but in NXT right now, I think they are using Johnny Gargano as their Eddie Edwards. They're using his obsession with. They're using like Eddie Edwards has turned heel now. He's gone fully heel because his obsession with Sami Callihan has made him he's gone insane. He's basically become everything he's hated. The exact same thing is happening over in NXT with
Gargano and Ciampa.
Or Gargano is going a bit crazy because of his obsession with Ciampa. So, and I think this is one of the rare cases where Impact did it first, as in that they turned the guy. Obviously the Ciampa Gargano feud is older, but they didn't do this kind of turn until.
Johnny is still in the.
He's not a heel,
but see, Eddie Edwards is fully turned now.
Yeah, but you can kind of see the similarities, in my opinion.
And it's funny you mentioned that, actually, just before we kind of get... It's funny you mentioned that, because that's not the first time I've heard it either, and I don't really follow NXT very much. That is one thing that I've heard, is that it's kind of following that same vein, but that vein didn't really start until this one did.
NXT, like fairly, like I follow it every week, like, but like, and it's only been since the last takeover, it's been kind of happening.
Yeah, which was 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yeah. But so it's only been about then. So, but there hasn't been any resounding heel turn. There's just been Johnny cutting promos where he's been a bit darker. He said, he should become what he hates, all this kind of stuff. But I think Eddie Edwards and Impact have done it first.
They've done it well.
They've done it better.
Yeah.
They've done it way more prominently. Like, well, obviously, I can't really say better because obviously I'm not done yet. Yeah. So, but they have done like really, really well. This feud has been great. Yeah, Eddie Edwards, like, this whole thing where he's gone insane and, like, he thinks that Tommy Dreamer's banging his wife, and he thinks that, like, he basically just turned into, like, an abusive husband. Like, even, like, the last, like, I remember, like, 2 weeks ago or something, or 3 weeks ago, Edwards came home to his house and found that, like, his wife had left him.
Left him a beer, at least. That was nice. Left him a beer. Let's not forget that part.
He went to the fridge, got a beer, opened the beer, and started drinking and going around the house. I was like, he looks like just a classic. All he's missing is a fucking wife beater.
Yeah.
And it would just be like deep and like a tattoo of like an Irish flag on his arm or something. And he would just be
You're giving us a bad name on an international podcast.
No. Are you kidding me? If nobody's gotten a bad name on this gimmick yet, it is sure as hell not going to be you guys, and we're not going to have no international incident here either.
But anyway, to get down to brass tacks, who I think is winning the match is Eddie Edwards. I think Eddie Edwards has to win this match just to keep his heat going. I guess you could have Dreamer win. It wouldn't shock me if Dreamer won and was like, he beat Edwards so bad, he brought him back to sanity, maybe.
I think it's going to be Eddie Edwards just beats Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because we've learned if anything over the last 20 years has taught us, Tommy Dreamer can take a hell of an ass whooping. So I think that's what his role is going to be here. That he's just going to get the shit beat out of him here and make Eddie Edwards even more insane. And I think it'll be a doctor stoppage or a referee stoppage or something like that.
Can you do that in House of Hardcore rule match?
I don't know. They just make it like the rules are made up as it is.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a doctor stoppage or something to that effect, where Tommy Dreamer will just be beaten until he can't continue.
Yeah, I think Edwards wins it, so I am.
See, this is our first non-universal agreement of a match, because I think actually Tommy Dreamer is going to win this match. And I think that it's just going to be like Tommy Dreamer wins the match, and then Eddie Edwards just fucking loses it and just like flat out tries to murder him right after, right? And then you have the big pull apart with whatever, but yeah, I could see that happening for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I suppose it's not another possibility. Like you said, like you could have... Like, I think if Dreamer wins, I think it's going to be the case he beats Edwards so badly that it brings Edwards back to sense. Like, he beats the sense into him.
Yeah.
Literally. But I think I don't want to see Eddie Edwards go back to being sane. I think this whole insane character is working, and I think it's different and it's refreshing.
Oh, he's not done with this yet. He can't. There's no way he's done with this yet.
Oh, no way,
yeah.
no.
And I think one thing that none of us have talked about yet, and I think it's 100% playing a factor, is Alyssa Edwards is definitely coming out and doing something.
But that's what my point is, that maybe she'll come out and just like protect Tommy Dreamer, or even even just like cover Tommy Dreamer with her body, and then you have that kind of thing. Will Eddie Edwards hit his wife up?
Impact are a bit more edgy than WWE, even Ring of Honor say. And I don't think it's completely out of the realms of possibility that Eddie Edwards attacks his wife, maybe, if she comes out and protects Tommy Dreamer. Maybe he hits her with a kendo stick, maybe something. I don't think that's completely out of the realms of possibility either. It could be a very good thing or a very bad thing.
Yeah, I have to agree. The sky's the limit, essentially. How far they're willing to go is how far they want to really push that envelope. I guess we're going to find out after the pay-per-view. Or during the course of the pay-per-view.
22nd, I suppose.
Yeah. So a next match that we have, or another match I should say that we have on the card, is a X Division 4-way match. We have Phoenix versus Johnny Impact versus Rich Swann versus the new Bone Soldier, Taja Ishimori.
I think this is going to be massive.
This is going to be insane.
I think this is going to be incredible.
Yeah, this match is going to be crazy.
Just look at I don't know if you you guys saw Impact last night, but they had the 6-man tag.
Yeah,
that was insane.
It was great.
From what I saw. And the week before, Phoenix taking on Rich Swann was another great match.
Yeah, that was a hell of a match.
Yeah, I think Rich Swann has been a breath of fresh air in there since coming into Impact, despite his weird receding hairline haircut.
Yeah, he said that's in honor of Minoru Suzuki. That's why he did it.
He honored him sure as hell, because Suzuki had that whack half mohawk only on the back or whatever. Yeah.
Someone asked him about it. Someone was like, so Rich was with the hair, and he was like, there's this guy over in Japan called Minoru Suzuki, and he has hair like this, and he's really badass, so I thought I'd do it. And I was like, I suppose, but your hair looks dumb.
Yeah, yours look balding.
Yeah, but this match is going to be insane. This match is going to be, this is going to be, just look at the people in it. Like you have Rich Swann, one of the best high flyers in the world right now. You have Johnny Impact, who is one of the best kind of pure athletes to ever step foot in a wrestling ring. You have Phoenix, one of the 2 best luchadors in the world, in my opinion, and you have Taiji Ishimori, who has just reinvigorated his whole career by getting this Bone Soldier gimmick and joining Bullet Club.
And one of the best Super Juniors in Japan.
Yeah. So I like this, and to predict, this is a pick-em match. I don't know who wins this match.
Oh God.
You could flip 4 coins almost, and like.
Yeah.
You could, yeah. I'm gonna go Rich Swann to win this match, because I feel like this will be his big introduction into Impact. I think this is just a one and done with Ishimori. I think he's going back to New Japan after this anyway. Phoenix and Impact. It's hard. Anyway, you can make an argument for all of them, but in my opinion, just Rich Swann's new kid on the block. I think this is the new thing to get him that big win, get him over. Yeah, so Rich Swann for me.
I think we can all agree probably that Ishimori is probably the least likely to win here.
Yeah.
Just because he's going back to New Japan after this, and I can't see him having a long stint in Impact. I would probably agree. I'd probably go Rich Swann, just for the same points you made. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I also think that Rich Swann probably picks up the win here. Although I can almost guarantee that all 4 guys will have a hell of a showing on this one.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
For me, yeah, it kind of makes sense, just for the introduction of Rich Swann into the company and really set him up in a preeminent role, especially like just how, like all the points you guys listed, right? How good this guy is. Well, let's show the world how good he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think this match is going to be 100% match of the night, definitely. I think it's going to be I think the only one that kind of comes there's a few good matches on the card as we'll run down in a minute anyway. But I think this match, just on paper, just like if you just look at the caliber of athlete that is in this match, I think it's going to be really, really good. But yeah, I think Rich Swann. I think they're all going to do something crazy. They're all going to have one insane spot each.
Yeah.
How long is Slammiversary? Do you know? I
think they've pegged it at the show itself is pegged at about 2.5 hours.
Is that all?
Well, and it would be, because that would put us at I'm Central North American time, so if the show starts at, we'll say 7 o'clock, then that puts us at about the 9:30 range.
Yeah,
so,
because I'm just looking at the amount of matches. Like if there's 8 matches currently announced, and it's 2.5 hours, maybe they might not have enough time to do all they can do, but they might give these guys the time though. They might cut something short.
See, yeah, and if you're gonna, I can see a couple of matches being not on the short side in a detrimental way, but not as ridiculous, if you will. Not a 30-minute match, if you will, but
yeah. But I think if they're gonna like offer one match a lot of time, I think this match definitely.
Yeah, I agree. So another match we have listed on the card is the mask versus hair match. That's Pentagon Jr. versus Sami Callihan. Apparently, I'm not allowed to talk first because, as per Skype, so I'll let one of you guys kick this one off.
It's a tough one to call.
I don't think this is a tough one to call. I don't think this is tough at all. I think Pentagon Jr. is not losing his mask. There's no way. I think there's genuinely not in Impact.
Sorry, man, calm down.
But genuinely, I know, but seriously, I just think that it's not within the realms of possibility for Pentagon to lose his mask. I can't see it happening. I just can't see it happening. So Sami Callihan's going bald.
Possibly, but I wouldn't take it out of the realms of possibility of Sami Callihan winning, because he's probably their top heel.
He is their top heel. Yeah.
To enhance his heat.
I like Sami Callihan. I
do as well.
I like Sami Callihan.
But taking the mask of Pentagon Jr. would enhance his heat.
It would be, and I think the one thing they might do to counter it is if say Sami wins, which I don't think he will, but say Sami wins and Pentagon loses the mask, he might just go face paint, because he already has some of it anyway.
Yeah.
So he might just paint his face instead, which would be cool too. That's what Abyss did when Abyss lost his mask first. He painted his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, in my opinion, I can't see. I think Sami Callihan's going bald. Now that you've said it, I can't. It's 100% possible he could win, but I'm going Pentagon.
I am going to go Pentagon, but I wouldn't take out the possibility of Sami Callihan winning as well.
Yeah, we'll make this one unanimous. I think Pentagon's winning this one as well, but I also agree with your point that this one to me is also kind of a pick'em. Like, I could see them going either way, and it makes sense either way they go. So.
Yeah, I could also see Pentagon winning and
Sami not shaving.
Sami not OVE coming in.
To get the real heat, yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. If that's another way of getting heat if you don't want to take Pentagon's mask. But yeah, Sami Callihan is one of the very few true heels in wrestling right now.
And he's up there for probably the best heel in wrestling at the moment.
Yeah, especially when you go back to a couple of weeks ago on Impact when he took Pentagon's mask.
Yeah.
The heat he got, you never see that anymore.
And when he came out the next week, or was it last week, where he came out dressed as Pentagon?
Yeah, that was crazy. They had me, for sure. They had me there.
Yeah, I probably was confused as well. I was proper confused. I was like, what?
But I think for such an old school idea of taking a person's mask, it's been around for years. But Sami Callihan is bringing a whole new level to it, where he's getting this modern day heel heat, which is incredible for anyone that can get heat nowadays is doing something right.
Yeah, I agree.
The fact that it's getting heat on ways that has been tested and tried for years is even more spectacular, that he's still willing to get heat on old kind of storylines like taking someone's mask.
Yeah, and I think to Sami Callihan's credit, what he's exceptional at is he recognizes that he's not the best in-ring worker, and he's making up for it in leaps and bounds by just being the best heel he could possibly be and having the best character work. And I love the OVE gimmick as well. So I think it's and they have a banging theme song.
Oh, I love that theme song. I love everything about that. The entrance, everything. I love what they do.
The only thing I change is the catchphrase, the thumbs up, thumbs down thing. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It doesn't even make sense. But other than that, I think they're super cool. I love the masks. I love the theme song. But
you know what it sounds like. You know what it sounds like. You love about that. It sounds like you love everything.
Everything. But I think this match is gonna be good. I think Pentagon, for me, like I said, Phoenix is one of the top two luchadors in the world. I think Pentagon, his brother, is the other one.
Yeah.
So I think but in my opinion, Pentagon just isn't losing his mask. I just can't see it happening.
We have an X Division Championship match also listed on this card. Matt Sydal, the champion, versus Brian Cage. Maybe I'll start this one off, and we'll see if Skype kicks me off this time or not. So for me, I think Matt Sydal's winning this match. I can't see. Yes, and here's why I think that. I don't see how Brian Cage can win the X Division belt and lose it. How is he going to lose that belt?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think it's going to be and don't get me wrong, I don't think he's going to, Matt Sydal's not going to beat him as a pinfall, whatever. I think there's going to be, Kongo Kong's going to run in and it's going to be a DQ finish.
That's it, yeah, Kongo Kong is still there. He's still kind of hanging around.
Yeah, I don't think that they're done with that feud, but so what I think I should say is that Kongo Kong's going to cost Brian Cage the match, and that's how Matt Sydal retains. But I think in the be all end all that Brian Cage is not walking up with the belt.
even if they did an angle where Congo Kong attacks Matt Sydal, getting him getting Brian Cage disqualified, and kind of inadvertently attacks Matt Sydal would probably be a good way of doing that as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Just yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, Brian Cage, Congo Kong not done yet. Yeah, so I think back to my point. I think Brian Cage is winning this. They've built him. Literally, they've called him Weapon X. And to your point, you've said who beats him, right? Killer Kross. Killer Kross just debuted, right?
Yeah.
And he looks really, really good as well.
Yeah, he's got a really interesting. It was one of Impact's best storylines in a very long time. Who was the X attacker guy? Yeah. And I think so Killer Kross is there now, and you have Congo Kong. I mean, I don't think it's completely out of the possibility that Congo Kong could be the one to take belt off Brian Cage, like with interference from Jimmy Jacobs or something. And like it could get to the point where you have three giant guys feuding over their X division.
In the X division, yeah.
So they've always played it fast and loose anyway with the X division rules. So
yeah,
I think Brian Cage anyway.
Also, just off the beaten path here, I saw a vignette run for a new knockout. Do you know who that is or who it's rumored to be?
I don't know, and I've tried very hard not to read into any spoilers because I kind of want to be surprised.
Yeah.
But I actually don't know.
Because I genuinely don't know, because obviously we'd keep up to date with who's signed and not. Yeah. But I haven't heard of them sign anyone.
In fairness, right? In fairness,
don't give away any spoilers.
I'm not giving away anything. No, I don't know anything. I haven't even seen the vignettes. I don't even know what you're talking about. But even with the X attacker, I tried to find out who that was. Because I was like, look, I fucking hate waiting. I'm just gonna. I'm fucking out.
You're what is bad about wrestling, then.
Yeah, no,
you're a very impatient fan.
Yeah, so I said I'm gonna find out who won, and I literally could not find it anywhere. So I think Impact have become very, very good at keeping things under wraps. So I think they are very airtight now. It's very hard for leaks to get out, I think. So
which is good.
Especially for a
fuckers like you, ruining their fun.
Especially for a taped show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's surprising that they can do that well of a job.
Yeah, so obviously, so I think Killer Kross Brian Cage is the next feud anyway. I think that's the next one, the next big one. Who are you picking?
I'm gonna go, like I said, Sydal, but I'm gonna go Sydal by disqualification.
Oh, fair enough.
I think either Congo Kong comes in and inadvertently attacks Matt Sydal, or I just think I think Brian Cage does something to get himself disqualified.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think Brian Cage is winning now.
I think it's the way out here. Because I do like Matt Sydal as champion, and I think Matt Sydal is...
I'm not that high in him.
No? I think he's a fantastic representative of the X Division.
He is, but I'm just not on board with his gimmick. I understand it does its job. It's working, because he's annoying me. He's supposed to be this annoying heel that's working. But it's just, again, I just can't get on board with it. I don't know. I just I like him as an in-the-ring guy. Just can't get on board with him as a talker or his personality.
He slightly reminds me of TJ Perkins right now.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
To kind of heal TJ Perkins.
I suppose, but I hate him too, so.
Yeah.
Well, and there you go. I guess that's why, you hate one, you hate them all almost at that point, but...
Yeah.
But, no, and again, I'm a huge Brian Cage fan. I think he's one of the best big man wrestlers in the world right now.
Yeah.
And him and Congo Kong had one of the best big man matches in a long time. About 2 weeks ago, was it, I think?
Yeah.
They had a really good match together. So, so I'm a big fan of Brian Cage, and so I think he's winning well. So, yeah.
Also, I just want to ask, because I don't know how much in Canada do you know about Impact's latest signing, Joe Hendry. Do you know much about him, or do you know him at all? Or
I don't. I'm not as familiar with him as most people are. And actually, last week, or this will be 2 weeks ago, depending on when this airs. But I had Michael Larkin on, and he was talking about how he's seen him at a couple of live shows in the New York area. And apparently he's a hell of a talent. Just personally, I haven't seen anything from him.
We'd know him fairly well on the European circuit.
Yeah, just in ICW
and in What Culture Pro Wrestling and all this.
Progress and stuff, yeah.
He is... What a coup for Impact. I think he's an outstanding talent. He's
a great personality. Like, he's a great guy. You know, like, he's a great guy to lead a stable. He's a great guy to kind of just be on the mic, hype a match. He's a great heel worker. He's and he's fantastic. He's good in the ring. He's good in the ring. He's not the best, but he's good. But he's an outstanding heel wrestler.
If you have time, like in your spare time, you should look up his some of his entrances.
Yeah, that's his
in ICW. Gimmick. His gimmick is like that. His indie gimmick was that he parodies songs, so he sings himself to the ring.
Okay.
And so he's done entrances like Bohemian Rhapsody, and he's done Limp Bizkit's Rollin', where he comes out on a push bike instead of the Undertaker's motorcycle and all this. It is fantastic, and then that's kind of more of his comedy based gimmick. But as in a heel, he's very good.
Well, he can be the top heel of a company too, you know.
And also he's a proven. He actually represented Scotland in the Commonwealth Games for amateur wrestling last summer. So he is a very talented amateur wrestler as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's and I'm wondering if they're gonna mention that too, because like lately they've been doing a great job of when somebody comes in, then they're talking about their history, right? Like when Killer Cross came in, they're talking about how he's a bare knuckle boxing champ and he has an amateur background or whatever. So it'd be neat to see now that, because I didn't know that myself about Joe Henry. Now it'll be neat to see going forward if they bring that up on commentary as part of his past and background story.
They should, yeah.
I think they will. I think Don Callis will anyway. I think that guy will just do what he wants anyway.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if with him signing for Impact now, will he continue amateur wrestling? Because in interviews in the past, he said that his goal is to make the Olympic team in 2020. Oh, really? So that'll be interesting if he can get that opportunity with Impact. Obviously, they've let the likes of Bobby Lashley and stuff fight and do other adventures. So it'll be interesting.
I think Impact will. I think it's just nothing but good press for them.
Yeah.
So
it's fantastic press. Yeah.
So I think 100% he will. If he gets on the Olympic team, if Scotland gets to the Olympics or whatever, I think.
Well, it'll be on team
UK,
Great Britain,
whatever.
All right, so second last match, or however you want to term it, on the card is the Knockouts Championship match: Su Yung versus Madison Rayne. Just curious what you guys think about this match.
I think Su Young's winning. I think she's retaining. I think she's going to be the new dominant force of the Knockouts division. So that's all I really have to say. I think Madison Rayne is just a giant feather in the cap, to be honest.
I think they've built Madison Rayne up for the fall. I think they've built her up to. She's beaten Tessa Blanchard. She's got notches on her belt towards this match, and it's just going to be even bigger when Su Yung beats her.
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of the way they're going in that direction.
The demon bride will reign.
Yeah, this one's unanimous again. I think that Su Yung wins this match, and I think that this match, if you're gonna have a short match on the card, not in terms of killing the quality, but like an absolute domination, I would love to see Su Yung just murder her, out of the gate, just storm her, like shell shock her, and just destroy Madison Rayne, especially with the way that they've been building her up. It just makes sense. Like, if you're gonna position Su Yung as the preeminent dominant knockout, like, there's almost no better way to do it than that, in my opinion.
So I think Su Young's gonna win. I think I'm in total agreement with you. I think she's gotta just dominate. I think Madison Rayne is, like, to Jack's point as well, just been built up to be like this huge feather in the cap. But I think the only people who can beat her now are Ali or Rosemary. I think they're the only people storyline wise that make sense to be the ones to beat her. I think so.
I think I don't know if you got that in the first feed, but I compared her, and I don't like comparing her, but it's hard not to make the comparison to Asuka in the WWE. I think they've built her up very similar, obviously similar backgrounds with Su Yung and Asuka. So that comparison is going to be made, and obviously the kind of weird kind of gimmick as well fits. But I do like Su Young's work, and I think she is good going forward as your knockout champion until you build someone to defeat her.
Yeah, I completely agree. So speaking of champions, we have our final match of the night is for the Impact World Championship. We have the champion Austin Aries defending against Mousse. And just curious what you guys think about this one as well.
I think I think it's a tough one to call. At first, I was kind of 100% Mousse.
Mousse?
I'm 100%, yeah. And I think Mousse is winning. Because I think Mousse is being slowly but surely built as, like, the guy to head up this new generation of kind of Impact Wrestling, this new line of just, like, you know, it's kind of just erasing the bullshit that happened there for a few years and just kind of, like, this new light of wrestlers. And, like, he's being referred to as Mr. Impact. Like, literally being called Mr. Impact. So, I think Mousse wins. Something tells me that Aries is leaving Impact. I think Aries just came in for a bit of a boost, and I think he's heading off back to the Indies.
You reckon?
I think.
I love Austin Aries as a champion.
Austin Aries too.
I do. I think his line about it's the XFL needing a defensive lineman or whatever that was.
Yeah, that was
brilliant. I probably will lean towards Mousse as well.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's Mr. Impact. I think ending the night with a babyface champion is probably the way they're going to go. And I don't know. I'm not sure about Austin Aries leaving. I don't know. Maybe he'll get his rematch then.
That's not an inside scoop, right? That's literally just the feeling.
I don't know what his contract is. Maybe you know. Did he sign a year deal when he came over? Or?
They never actually announced what his contract length is. As far as I know, and I could be wrong, as far as I know, it's a very loose contract wherein he's kind of free to come and go as he pleases. Like, that's kind of a shitty way to phrase it, I understand, but, like, that's kind of the structure of the deal where that's why he's allowed to go appear on Ring of Honor, for example, and other promotions that have television, because otherwise it would be, you can't be on TV kind of gimmick. But so that's my understanding of his contract, at least.
Yeah, so that's what I think. I just think he's going to go do more work with Ring of Honor. He's going to do more work on other independent and like I like to see him in other like promotions. I like to see him maybe pop up in like PWG. So I think that so I just think that he might, because of his whole fast and loose contract, that he will just go to PWG, Evolve, Progress, all these other companies, and maybe just rack up all these wins and have him come all the way full circle, come back, have Mousse still be champion, and you can build up that Aries is gone. Yeah, I've gone all around the world, I've built up my skills, I'm here to beat the shit out of you now.
I'd love to see Aries go to Japan.
I'd like to see him that too, yeah.
I'd like to see what he could do out there, because I think he would fit perfectly as a heel out there.
Yeah.
But obviously Impact would benefit greatly by keeping Austin Aries.
Oh yeah,
and I think they would. I don't think they should let him go. So yeah, I think Mousse is winning, but I hope for Impact's sake that Austin Aries sticks around a little longer.
I think that Austin Aries is going to retain here myself, but I think that he's going to there's going to be some. Like a low blow or some not outside interference, but I think he does something to get a screw job kind of a finish, like feet on the ropes or whatever. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I don't see how he beats Mousse clean. I think if he beats Mousse, and that's just my opinion, that he will, I think it's going to be something where it's a screw job finish, and Aries is kind of able to pull the shithead heel. He can slide out of the ring and kind of skulk his way back to the back. So that's kind of my idea, at least.
Yeah. So if Mousse doesn't beat him, who do you think does?
Oh boy. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know who else you could build up. Well, maybe him and Pentagon have a match again.
Yeah, that was a great match too.
So maybe you go back to that. But yeah, now that Eli Drake has signed a long-term deal, maybe he works his way back into a title picture. Like, that could be a way to go. But
then you have the kind of problem of working a heel dynamic.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not a bad. Yeah, go ahead.
But correct me if I'm wrong. But is Eli Drake starting a program with Grado? Did I see that? Kind of.
I'm not sure.
I saw something last night where he hit on Grado's girlfriend or whatever. I don't know.
Well, if they go that route, yeah, Grado is Grado. What can you say? But I
think starting after signing Eli Drake to a big contract and putting him into a feud with Grado, then after that isn't the best way of working.
I think you guys are just knocking Grado. I think Grado.
No, I love Grado. I love Grado.
Haters.
But Grado was brilliant when he was in ICW, when he was in around Europe. But I think since he's come to Impact, he's been treated as a comedy actor.
Yeah, no, definitely, because he is.
And for any big star like Eli Drake to be feuding with him.
Yeah, but like you could have Eli Drake just beat the shit out of him then. You know?
Maybe.
You could have Eli Drake do what he should be doing to him.
But they're already teasing Joe Hendry turning heel on Grado.
Yeah, they're teasing
already, so...
well,
I think...
Sorry, the other part about... I don't want to lose that train of thought, so keep the Joe Hendry thought real quick, but... if you've noticed the past few weeks' Impact, they keep saying how they're going to be simulcasting with the UK crowd. So I'm curious to see if maybe they introduce Grado as kind of like that stepping stone, and then you can move into the Joe Hendry thing. But
yeah, maybe.
Okay, so that finally runs down our card for Slammiversary. It took a fucking hour and a half because goddamn Skype is just being a real pain in the ass with us today. So
yeah. So I'm looking forward to burying Skype.
Yes, I'm going to shred Skype. But before we get out of here, just if you guys want to quickly give a plug for where everybody can find your show.
So Just Because Wrestling is on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you find your podcasts, Audio Boom.
Yeah. Find us on Twitter at JB Wrestling 1998.
Make sure you go and check out Just Because Wrestling. Boom. So I really do have to thank Billy and Jack from Just Because Wrestling for joining me. Believe it or not, that audio took us damn near over 2 hours to complete. Skype, for whatever reason, kept crashing or kept dropping our mics or dropping the calls. There was a point in time where we were getting like 2 or 3 minutes of audio at a time. So we'd have to, start, stop, pick up thoughts. It was super frustrating, and I felt very unprofessional doing it, but all the credit in the world to those guys. They stuck with it, and obviously you can tell from the audio, we had a blast doing it, regardless of all the bugs that happened. So one thing that we didn't manage to get in, and they had told me after, and I'm going to make sure that I mention it here, is they actually have a sponsor for their show. So they weren't able to get that on there, but go and check out Smart Mark Apparel. It's a new clothing company that's going to be coming out. I'm also going to include their tag with the first tag for this show this week. And when you do check them out, make sure you use the Just Because Wrestling Guys' code. That's JBW20. Again, Smart Mark Apparel, use Just Because Wrestling's code JB20. And once again, before I get out of here for the night, I just want to give a quick plug to all of our social media. So you can find us on YouTube. Use that wonderful search bar, type in Six Sided Podcast. There you will find our playlist, including all past and this present episode of the Six Sided Podcast. And make sure you subscribe to us. When you do, not you, I will give you a shout out on the next available show. Just keep in mind that if you do subscribe and your profile set to private, then I can't see you on my list, so I unfortunately can't give you a shout out. Obviously the way to remedy that is to just let me know, hey, I subscribe to your channel, and I'll make sure that you get your due course. Also, you can follow us on Twitter at 6_podcast. And you can shoot me an email anytime, sixsidepod@gmail.com. Once again, that's all letters, no numbers or gimmicks in that one. So for myself, the Taxman, for my friends at Just Because Wrestling, and to all of you, I say, take care of yourselves and each other. Good night, everyone.